I roll, Almendra?
You are on. This is yours.
I'm ready to roll. Lovely. Let's go rolling together. Bienvenidos. Welcome to everybody. My name is Nikki Webster, and as you might hear from my accent, I'm fairly British, but I paid for this accent, or my father paid for this accent. That's that lovely man in that photograph. And we're going to be looking at building together a toolbox, una caja de herramientas, for us as trainers. And I'm going to walk you through where this came from, my ideas, and what I did after a few years of training. It's about languages, and as you might notice, I'm British, but I was born and bred in Italy. And at university, I studied French and started my career as a French teacher, and ended up in Spain and lived there for quite a while, and it goes on from there. I now live in the north, the very north of the Netherlands, any further north, and I'm swimming in the North Sea. So what's this all about? Well, cómo adquirir conciencia del lenguaje y desarrollar una caja de herramientas. This is how to put together a toolbox so that we as trainers are aware of our participants' language skills and language preferences. And it also is beautifully supported by what Nelson Mandela said. He says, if you talk to a man in a language, it'll go to his head. If you talk to a man in his language, it'll go to his heart. And that after these so many years in different countries and different languages, that really hit home for me. So this is the red line through my presentation. But where does this come from? Why am I doing this? Well, over the years, as I think a good trainer, I also do feedback forms after a training course, always asking for feedback. And through the years, several things have come up again and again. And I'm going to show you a few of these. And this is what I've based my toolbox, my desire for a toolbox on. So some students or some professionals have said to me, oh, Nikki, what are you saying? Why are you shouting? Why are you speaking so fast? That was in the early days when I was very nervous. Others have been very honest with me and said, well, I don't think I'm understanding this. Maybe my English isn't the right level. This is especially with students in the first year of the university I teach in, who normally have around a B2, C1, but sometimes not. So, okay, I was aware that, okay, maybe the language was too difficult for them. Others, well, I've got a good friend who through the years here in the Netherlands has had therapy after a trauma. And every year we get together and she says, nope, it's not working, it's not working. And so we're racking our brains and trying to think, why? And then finally this year, one of the therapists said to her, would you like to do this in your own language? And I saw her recently and big smile on her face. She said, I've got it now. It's because I wasn't doing it in my own language. And that to me meant, okay, so our emotions are very, very deep and they are in our mother tongue or mother tongues. Others have said, well, I understand everything, the concepts, the dimensions, the theory, but when I get into an actual situation, nothing comes out my mouth. So I thought, okay, I need to help them here. Others would say, yeah, I'm in training courses sometimes, and we get the question from the trainer, do you understand? And I dare not answer because I don't want to be the dumb one in the class and I don't want to lose face. And the final one is I'm giving a training course in English and I have two other people speaking in English, but they are not English mother tongues. And I'm thinking, I don't know what they're saying. They're speaking my language, but I'm not understanding them. But they are understanding each other. So this is very much with my colleagues as well. I have a Spanish colleague and a German colleague. And when they have conversations in English, they understand what they're saying, but I lose it a bit. So, and I'm being very honest here as well. I'm holding my heart on my sleeve, as we say. So this is just a small summary of where this is all coming from. So throughout the years, I thought, okay, I need to do something here. And I realized that the courses we were giving really had to be much more tailor-made, but also linguistically tailor-made. You know, one size does not fit all, especially with language. So I started to devise my own toolbox to help me gauge the language skills and the language preferences of my participants at an early stage, because it was also about building that trust, which is so important, building trust between them and also building trust with me as a trainer. I didn't want to be the person who was responsible for them not being able to express themselves. So I started to put together a wee toolbox, and I'm going to take you through just a few of the activities that I do. And at the end of the presentation, I'd also like to see if we can share some of the things that you do in your courses. So the first one we're going to actually do is, oh, here's another thing. Toolbox. Well, I was working on this and I put El Toolbox. And I was talking to a Spanish teacher friend of mine and she was saying, nah, El Toolbox, no, La Toolbox. And then she said, ay, pero no lo sé, I don't know. Is it El Toolbox? Because in English, of course, the toolbox is neutral. So this is a little bit about what we're about in this presentation. So we just left it at toolbox. We couldn't agree. So the instructions. I would like you now to take that piece of paper, that A4 piece of paper of yours, and I'd like you to hold it in both hands. And then I would like you to close your eyes and I will give you a set of instructions, but you are not allowed to ask any questions. Okay? So if you would like to take your pieces of paper, hold them in your hands, coger el papel en las manos, cerrar los ojos. I'm going to give you instructions in English, but you're not allowed to ask any questions. Let's begin. So I'd like you to fold the piece of paper in half. I'd like you to hold the folded edge on the left. And I'd like you to rip away the top left-hand corner. And I'd like you to rip away the bottom right-hand corner. Then I'd like you to fold the piece of paper again. Please hold the folded side on the right-hand side and tear away the top right-hand corner. And rip away the bottom right-hand corner. And then fold the piece of paper one last time. I'd like you to hold the folded edge on the top and rip away the top left-hand corner. You might need to use your teeth a bit. There we go. All right. So there we go. I'm going to now ask you all to...
Hey, you're going to need to stop sharing your screen so we can see each other.
Yeah, I'm going to open your eyes and open your pieces of paper. And is this what you have? And I'd like you all to show your pieces of paper. Okay, don't worry. Let's have a look at all your Can we have all your pieces of paper up? Show the camera your pieces of paper. How many more have we got? Okay, Almendra, this was the photo moment, if you want.
That's correct. I've taken some photos, but I'll take some more now. So if everybody could just hold them up for one moment, I can grab some photos of you guys. So holding up, hold up your papers, sujetar los papeles, a ver, un poco más arriba.
Ay, qué bonitos, qué chévere.
One more. Let's see about
Es
that.
fantástico.
All right.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Right. So now I'd like you to go to your Mentimeter, and the code that you've got to punch in is 126812. 12
Sorry.
6812.
So
Is that a website or?
It's just a website. Yeah.
So it's mentimeter.com. I'll put it in the chat
Okay.
box.
And then I'm going to be asking you a couple of questions, and I'd like you to type in your answers to the questions. You can give several answers, so it's not limited to one answer. So the first question was, whilst I was giving the instructions, durante las instrucciones, ¿qué tal os habéis sentido? How did you feel when you were getting these instructions? How did you feel? Nice. A little insecure, would have liked to open my eyes. Yes. Un poco ansiosa porque estaba segura de que me iba a equivocar. Ah, yep. Was a bit weird and had some doubts, but I kind of found it. Oh, and I've got to open it now. Yep. Concentrated, intrigue. Estresada. Oh no. Okay. Right.
Problems with audio. So not getting all of the instructions well.
Yeah. That's the recent addition to our problems, going digital. Yeah. We've got to be aware of all of this as well. That's something I'd like to know later, is how many have already started giving their courses online, and how's it going? Yeah. Okay. Good. So can I come back to all of us now?
Yep. If you stop sharing, we'll be all back.
Yeah, there we are. So just to debrief a little bit all together. I do this on a regular basis, but actually it's not for the principiantes, it's not for the beginners, or it's not for the people who are in the course to make them feel stressed or anything. That really is not my intention. It's actually very important for me as a trainer to know how good my instructions are, or how clear my instructions are. So I always use this as a first activity. And then there are those who say, oh, but I've got mine wrong. And then it's nice to be able to let them know, you didn't get it wrong. It's me as an instructor who needs to be aware of, okay, my instructions didn't fall as I wanted them to. So I have to maybe rephrase myself, go slower, do more checking along the way, give people more space and time to ask questions. So this for me is very much, it's actually more about the trainer than the participant getting it right. But it's a nice one as well because it's quite fun. With the students, I then ask them, I extend this activity. I say, find someone who has the same as you. And then you're watching, you're hawk eyes during this, and you're saying, okay, those two people, they heard the same thing together. So maybe they are two people who in a future activity can work together. And it goes on. You can extend these activities on and on and on. So that's just one of the nice little activities I do. Okay. Can I move on to the next, or are there any questions, Almendra, in the chat?
No questions in the chat.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to the next one. I'm going to share the screen. And this is where you're allowed to now get your bananas. Dun, dun, dun. What's this about? Bananas? Okay. So what I would like you to do is to get your bananas. And Almendra will be putting you into breakout rooms, 4 breakout rooms. Almendra, did you want to give the instructions of this, or shall I continue?
Sure. The only instruction I do want to give, and then I think you should provide the rest, is that when you get sent to the breakout room, there is a number that appears at the top. And so it will either be 1, 2, 3, or 4. please remember which breakout room you have been sent to, okay? Because that's important for afterwards. And so, go ahead, Nikki.
Lovely. So what I'd like you to do in your breakout rooms together is discuss and come up with a set of instructions on how do you peel a banana. ¿Cómo pelas un plátano? Please don't do it on your banana, because later you'll be doing it with each other, and that's when you can eat your banana. But in the first breakout room, just talk about what instructions you're going to give the other group. Okay, can we say that this takes about 2 minutes, Almendra?
Yeah, it'll take about 2 minutes. One of the other things to be aware of, there's a question in the chat box. Breakout room basically means that now through Zoom, we are going to subdivide. There's 27 of us, and you're going to be subdivided into 4 separate rooms with the people automatically generated by Zoom. Also, it's important that within the group, you establish one person who's going to be writing down the instructions on how to peel the banana. Because when we come back to the general room, we're going to be asking someone from group 1, 2, 3, or 4 to describe the process, okay? So I'm going to be sending you out to breakout rooms. And in just a moment, I'm creating the group now. You, as Nikki just said, you will have 2 minutes. But maybe we should, just for the sake of safety, let's change it to 3. That way they can be sure, because maybe you want to say hi to each other briefly, and then write down the instructions and come back. Okay, so safe travels to your breakout.
Banana room.
Your banana rooms. Let's see, off you go. Did it work? Were you able to? Yeah, it worked. Everybody knows how to
Yes,
how to
yes.
peel a banana.
Apparently not.
Group 1 is going to tell us how we're going to peel the banana. If you want, you can go for it the first time, or you can wait, because then we're going to ask another group to describe how they peeled the banana, and then you can try and peel it at the second go. And if you're not peeling the banana at this time, or if you're not peeling the banana at the second time, what I'd like you to do, or what we'd like you to do, is to watch everybody else peel the banana and see how they are following the instructions, okay? So Frida, would you like to give instructions? And so now everybody else self-select whether you're peeling or not. And if you are, follow the instructions. If you're not, then please watch your screen to see how the others peel the banana.
Follow instructions.
Okay. Well, with my team, we decided this different way of peeling the banana, which is separating the banana by halves. I mean, just cutting the banana in a half. Can you do it? Yes. Yes. And then peel it from the. Excellent. Very good. That was the idea, that right, Tinjin? And then from that part of the half, just peel the yes, start peeling one half and eat it.
But now it's a bit damaged in the middle, isn't it?
Excuse me?
It's a little bit damaged in the middle.
Yeah, it's a little bit damaged, but the idea was to be fun, especially for toddlers, all right? To eat this bread. Yeah, we have some alternatives like this, like.
Right.
So if you peeled it, you peeled it. Think about how that felt. For those of you watching, think about how that was. Now, I'd like somebody in group number 3. Does anybody remember who they were in group number 3? Because I know group number 2 really knows who they are. They went ahead and wrote it for us. Nos lo han apuntado.
Angel. We were group number 3.
Okay.
All right, let's do it.
Angel, could you now, so the rest of you are gonna, those of you who haven't peeled, I'm out because I peeled my banana. If you peeled, you're out, and now you're watching. If you haven't peeled it, you're gonna follow Angel's instructions, and you're gonna go ahead and do what he says, okay? Adelante, Ángel. Go ahead.
Right, guys, it's gonna be very specific. So you peel the banana from the opposite side of the stick, I guess it's up there. Okay, then put the banana between the index finger and the thumb. So you can put pressure in the skin. Put pressure in the skin. All right. Put more pressure until the skin opens. And pull your fingers to the outside. So the skin of the banana separates from the banana to the bottom. Then take another section of the skin between your finger and thumbs and pull it down. And then do the same, repeat the process with each side of the banana. That's it.
Bon appetit.
Have you considered that maybe if your banana is too smooth, it will just don't really work? Because mine is.
Hi, Berta, mashed banana for you. Okay, lovely. So, Almendra's got her mouth full. Que aproveche.
Gracias.
Do we have anyone who's still got a whole banana left, or are you all chomping? I think you're all chomping, aren't you? Well, Noah. Very good, Noah.
Yes.
Okay, has anyone?
I don't fancy banana that much, so I didn't want to eat it, so I was still waiting.
Okay, you haven't had your dinner yet. I'm actually allergic to bananas. It's horrible because I love them.
No, I'm not allergic, but I had 2 already, so a 3rd one would be too much for me.
Oh, damn. Okay, right. A little bit of debriefing about this. Well, can you maybe put in the chat or put your hand up if you want to say anything? A quick debrief from you first. How did that feel? What is it about? Why do I do this one? Why do I like this one? Any ideas? And chat.
So Ariadne says, how funny how there was such variation on how to peel a banana.
Yeah. Okay, exactly. So that's just it. It's variation. It's variation in how you do something that most of us have learned from very early age. I don't know about you, but it's something that's also automatic. It's like tying your shoelaces. I do this activity also with shoelaces, but I make people tie their fingers together and tie their shoelaces and give instructions on how to do it. It comes out like the same thing. And it's also to show that something as simple as opening a banana has many, many implications. And as I just heard in my little group, apparently the bottom of a banana is el culo, which for me is something else, you know, it's the bottom. So I got a little bit embarrassed as one might. So this is just another fun way to, 1, break down barriers, 2, make people aware and the trainer aware of who was struggling, because then that person I will be a bit extra careful with how I give instructions. And 3, it's also to show you that the top for you is maybe not the top for me, or the bottom, or simple things as instructions. And there's a wonderful research that was done about an island and the language, and the people are called Promperu. I don't know if I say it right, but apparently for them, left and right, they say your east leg or your west leg, or your east hand or your west hand, and top and bottom. So it would be take the banana from the south, and it goes on from there. So this is where how language is so rich and how it can change from culture to culture and language to language. So lovely. Thank you very much.
And Nikki, in the chat, there's a couple of more comments regarding that it's difficult to describe it, and it's also very difficult to find specific words in a foreign language to describe it. And people are doing things differently because of their experiences and purposes, as well as people doing things the way they typically think they are done. Whereas, of course, points of view are so different even on common things. And someone is also asking if you could share the title of the article. So if that were a possibility, we can send that in the follow-up email to the participants.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do have it. And also my last slide has all the references of everything I use. So there is someone here who says, yo nunca he hecho este tipo. I've never done this kind of activity. I don't see the point of it, but I liked it. So that's who's MRC? MRC, yeah. Do you still not see the point of it after the debrief?
Yeah, you explained it very well, I think.
Okay.
I didn't want to say the point, but more the objective of the idea. So I couldn't get it very well, but now I understand. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, that's lovely. Yeah, super. Okay, so now I would like to move on to the next activity that I do with my students or my participants. And now what you need to do is take a piece of paper and a pen or pencil.
Do we keep our eyes open this time, or do we have to close them as well?
No, 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 please keep them open. I don't want you drawing on your lovely tables or, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to draw something. I will give you instructions, but again, I'm awfully sorry, you're not allowed to ask questions. Seguir las instrucciones, pero sin hacer preguntas, lo siento. Okay, are you ready? I would like you to draw a road diagonally from bottom right to top left. On the right-hand side of the road, halfway up, is a cube. Please draw a cube. Cubo? Where you can see 3 sides.
Nikki, could I ask you to repeat the instructions in Spanish as well? Because we do have a participant that could use it in Spanish. And that way I don't write it, because I think that might affect the activity.
Sí, no, perdón. Por favor, dibujar una calle que va diagonalmente de el rincón derecho abajo hasta el rincón izquierda arriba. Y luego, a mano derecha de la calle, a mitad camino, dibujar un cubo donde se les ve 3 superficies, 3 caras. Sigo. I'll go on in English y luego en español. On the left-hand side of the road, halfway up, I would like you to draw another cube where you can see 3 surfaces. And this cube you should color in black. A mano izquierda de la calle, a mitad camino, otro cubo, donde se les ve 3 caras. Ese cubo hay que pintarlo de negro. Vale, ya está. Now I'd like you to show us all your drawing. And this is another picture opportunity, Almendra. A ver, ¿qué tenemos? Uy, hay unas carreteras muy bonitas. Some gorgeous little streets. Yes, yes. Some big, some small. Very nice. Very good. I don't know if you can see the original. It's a bit like that. Or my original, I don't know if you can see that. Can you? No, you can't see that, but with the white paper on the back. Yes, with the white paper on the back. It was actually that one. Can you see that? Yeah. Okay. You can see mine is still on a plastic thing. We don't use these anymore. There's the overhead projector thingies. Remember, that's how old I am. Así de vieja soy. Bueno, a ver, debriefing. Over to you first. ¿Qué opináis? ¿Para qué hacemos este? In the chat, o si queréis hablar, mano arriba. Put your hand up if you want to chat. Desde la ristre izquierda, ay, arroba a derecha abajo. Ajá, ¿ves? Idioma. Pero este, how did you feel doing it?
I felt quite comfortable because it was very specific. It was not just paint a road. It was from the bottom right to the up, and then the cube on the halfway up, 3 sides. It was very specific for me. So I was kind of also feeling strange because I thought, okay, where is the thing now? If it's so specific, we're going to do it very well, everybody, very similar.
How did anyone else feel? I always get confused with left and right. Miranda.
Yeah, always.
Okay,
I don't like giving instructions or receiving instructions with directions. No, it's like.
Someone felt happy drawing. It's been a long time drawing. How lovely. The creative is coming out as well now. That's perfect. Can you see from your own answers where this is going? It's for me as a trainer to then find out, okay, if Miranda were in my future group, I'd know that she doesn't like left and right. So I'd be careful in my instructions giving. I'd try and remember that. Somebody who likes drawing, I'd remember that. And maybe at some other point, any other activity, I'd say, hey, who is it who likes drawing? Anyway, Pampina, would you like to draw something for us? And then I'd be tapping into something that she likes to do, because that is then part of the building the relationship. Having your participants feeling valued is also part of the relationship building phase that you have with your participants. The more you let them feel valued and trusted, the more they're going to open up to you, which is what we want to do. We want to get deep at some point. Para conocer mejor a los participantes de tus formaciones, que les gusta, que no, sentirse valorados completamente, estoy de acuerdo. I hesitated at the point when you mentioned the cube. Who said that? That's Agnieszka.
Yeah, me too.
Agnieszka, why? If I may? Sorry.
So yeah, I was trying to place it in my head, as in, were you looking to have a building with signs on it, or whether you were looking to have 3 road signs, or whether, you know, what side was it supposed to be from, where the signs were supposed to be visible to the people in the street on the outside. So I am an overthinker, so this is typical for me.
So I have just in my little blue book made a note. Okay, Agnieszka likes detail and she thinks beyond the, you know, out the box, goes beyond. So these are all moments where I'm making mental notes or paper notes of my participants so that I can tap into that later on. Oh God, what have I done? Sorry, I just lost you all a moment. 2 seconds, right. Does anybody else have anything else to say before we move on to the next activity? No?
So Nikki, I just want to point out that we're almost at the hour mark. I know, we're having fun, time flies. So for you to be aware of that in case there are, you know, questions and things that would like to be asked at the end.
I think maybe if this would be acceptable to everybody, que si se nos va el tiempo, the next couple of activities, I just show them to you and tell you what I do with them. And then we'll get to the last PowerPoint slides, and then we can actually open it up together. I'd prefer that. Is that okay?
Could I ask us to do one of them together? Because these are really fun. So if you could pick, sorry, I got a preview of this when we did the rehearsal.
Which one do you prefer, Almendra?
The last one. I thought that was a really clever one. The one that has the text in the 2 languages.
Ah, vale. Okay, so I'll zip through the next ones and then I'll get to the text one. Very good, that's fine. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Voy a compartir pantalla. This drawing one, what I also normally do is I have my participants do it back to back with each other, because then I also help them to build a relationship and language together. I don't always do these things with them. So very often it's nice to hand over to the participants and let them do something on their own. And they sit back to back and they give each other instructions like that. Right, so this next one, I would ask participants, please write down the first 3 or 2 emotions that come to your mind, but in your own language. And so they write down their first 3 words, their first 3 emotions. And then I ask them, okay, would you now write down your first 3 emotions in another language for this photo? And then I'd open this activity up and I'd say, okay, your emotions, your deeper emotions, let's look at the words, and we'd debrief the words that they've come up with. And then we'd debrief these words as well, which were one in another language, but also it's a nice picture. Well, most of us would like to be here, I think. And so I want to show them how what we're looking at and what language we're speaking in affects the way we feel or decide what we like. So it's one about the language we have, but also about preferences of language. And this is a nice one as well. People walk around the room, they have sticky notes on their backs, and it works as well. And this next one, some of you might already know, it's the bridge. This is also based on research by, what's her name? Lira Boroditsky. Spanish and German students were asked, give an adjective for this bridge. And el puente is masculine, and die Brücke is feminine in German. And they compared the adjectives that came up from both languages, and the adjectives for German were more beautiful, elegant, high, feminine words. And the Spanish words, adjectives, were a lot more fuerte, duro, alto, and they were much more masculine kind of words. So just another confirmation of how your language quite often dictates how you feel and how you express yourselves. And for me, this is just, it's fascinating. This is what makes me hum. Okay, right, I'm gonna go back a moment. The next activity, I would like you all to read the text. I have put it in both English and Spanish. Read the text as fast as you can, and then I need you to answer the 2 questions. And I'd like you to put your answers to the questions in the chat. And this will take 2 minutes. Is that all right? Okay, ready? Okay, we're coming up to, time is nearly up. Casi se acabó el tiempo, chicos y chicas. Bueno. Ya está, time is up, my darlings. Okay, so let's have a look. Yeah, con la vida de las frutas. Cuando preguntas a las piñas. Apples and red currants, very nice. Okay, I didn't understand well, Frida. Nice, I'm glad. So confused, Horatio. I'm so sorry to do this to you. Okay, in the chat, or put your hand up if you want to talk. What was this about, do you think? Aleta, I feel I can't reply, didn't have enough time to investigate. Yeah, reading comprehension strategies also. Drawing conclusions in a foreign language. feeling like a student. Bingo. Es que nos sentimos un poco incómodos cuando no entendimos. We feel uncomfortable when we don't understand. Okay. Expectations when reading. Yeah. It's not even about that. It's about us as trainers. I think once in a while we need to remind ourselves how our participants feel when we don't understand. Because I think sometimes we forget, we do our trainings, we've been doing them for so many years and blah, 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 we go on and la, la, everything's great. But we have to remind ourselves once in a while how uncomfortable it can be when you don't understand either the instructions or the language. This activity was actually, I took it from, my son has dyslexia. And so the parents were all asked to an evening to understand what dyslexia is. And this was one of the activities that they gave to us. And us as parents, we all said the same thing. It's like, huh? I didn't understand a thing. And the teacher or the presenter said, well, that's exactly what your child is feeling when they can't read something. So it was a very, you know, that aha moment for me. So I started to help him in a different way with his dyslexia. So exactly. So any questions or any comments, because they're coming in fast and furious? Yeah, exactly. And this is how you feel like reading in the language you're learning, absolutely. And also people in higher education might be familiar with the academic language. Thank you for this one, because this one is also very much one of my hopes and desires that some of my colleagues who are academics, on their PowerPoints, they might consider changing their language a little bit, I think lowering is not quite the right word, but bringing the vocabulary down a little bit, or putting things into, as we say in English, lay terms. Try and take away a bit of the science of it. Of course, if you've got all scientific people with you, that's no problem. But yeah, it's being aware of this as trainers. Lovely. Okie dokie. Now I'm going to move on if no one else has any more questions. ¿Hay alguna cosita más que queréis decir? Yeah, Berta, I once did a similar exercise for empathy. Handwriting with the hand you don't normally use. Oh, that's nice. Can I use it? Can I steal this? So this is what I mean about a toolbox as well. Caja de herramientas, we're going to share. And that's my dream, is to all share this. Are there correct answers? No, there aren't. I made it all up. But I used Hofstede because most of us, not all of us, but most of us, yeah, Geert Hofstede, you know, we've all had to do or read his stuff at some point in our lives. So lovely. Thank you very much. Okay, I'll share my screen again and move on if that's okay. Okay, so then what I started to do was to make a little list for myself of things that I shouldn't say, but how I could say them. And these were some of the things that I have in my little booklet. So instead of saying, was this experience what you expected? And then it's just a simple yes, no. I would say, what were you wanting to experience from this? What were your expectations? Instead of saying, what do you mean? Because that can be quite a confrontational question for some people. I try and say things like, well, if I understand you correctly, and then I paraphrase what they've said and try and get confirmation like that. Why? Oh, that's also a very confrontational question, I've been told. Miss Webster, please don't say why. I feel terrible. Oh, okay, sorry. So I say, did you say this because, and then I try and paraphrase it. Do you understand? This is a classic, and we still do hear it in quite a lot of teachers. And we could maybe say, could we say this in different words, or could we use synonyms, or could we paraphrase this? So that's one of the parts in my little booklet where I make notes. I do things like this. But then this is all based upon your answers. So you got this lovely questionnaire at the beginning. And in fact, in the middle there, you can see a picture of, I printed out all your results. I have it here in front of me, great huge piece of paper. But you can also make it into a Google form and get your answers in a different way. But I'd like to just quickly look at the questions that I asked. So I asked your mother tongue. Have you studied in your mother tongue to university level? That tells me a lot about what kind of vocabulary you're going to understand, or you might not understand if it's too academic. I'm fascinated in knowing what other languages you've studied or you speak. I want to know the level. Did you learn that language on a course? Or I put here en la calle, which is basically, did you learn the language in the street? Because that's how I learned Spanish. I'm afraid I've never studied Spanish, my humble apologies, but I learned it in the calle, in the street. And then here we've got the SEFRA references, A1, A2, B1, B2, but not everybody knows what the SEFRA is. Why should they? Language teachers, we should know that. But so I also changed those words, and I put also principiante, intermedio, avanzado, beginner, intermediate, and advanced, for those who might not know what A1, A2 is. Then I also want to know if they've studied in this language, this other language, to university level. So the language of the course. So many of us are giving training courses in a language that is not the mother tongue of the participants. So we've got to be very, very aware of level and making sure that everyone's on board and understanding. And then also education level, secundaria, secondary level, a BA, an MA, a PhD and further will change how much you understand vocabulary. And then based on what I also asked you about your hobbies. And on the bottom left, I've put a little table here. And we got somebody who English or Spanish are not their native tongue or mother tongue. So in a future course, I would then be careful of that person and make sure that I let them bring a Google Translate or deepl.com or even a paper dictionary. I'd work a little bit more on synonyms to help them understand. Somebody hasn't done university, English to university level. So I'd help maybe with vocabulario, with more vocab. Somebody has a fascinating hobby. I'm just looking at it, and it's parapenting. So maybe in a course, I would ask them to give us a little course or a little description of what parapenting is. So along the course, I'm dipping into them and their likes and letting them express something that they like to do. It builds the relationship. And it also gives more way for you to understand the language that they know. And it's also a way of making people feel comfortable. Somebody has a very interesting language. So I might ask them to give us a small summary of the differences in the language with the language that we're using in the course. Someone else is very new to this. Someone's not even been an intercultural trainer yet. Is on the way, but hasn't done it yet. So all of this is very daunting. So I wouldn't want to lose her along the way. So I would maybe say, hey, listen, let's have a chat tonight or tomorrow, or get together for a coffee. And I'd try and give her a little bit more about the subject so that she doesn't feel so daunted. And then I'll move on to the next slide. And linguistically then, what I did was I looked into all your languages, and just from my Spanish learning, I never knew whether I was embarrassed or pregnant. Embarazada or avergonzada. That took me a long time to get used to how I had to say it. A table is feminine, but it's not in English. So for a while, when I was learning my various Latin languages, I used to say, well, how can a table be feminine? Where is it? I don't see it. We have all the languages that we've got in this group. We've got Hungarian, Russian, Polish, Chinese. Well, did you know that, for example, German has 3 genders, and das Mädchen, excuse my pronunciation, which means the girl, is neuter. So that could maybe cause some people a bit of confusion. There are 5 tones in Chinese that we, as Westerners, I guess, or Latin language speakers, or whatever it is, we can't even hear the differences. And having lived in the Netherlands for a while now, I still struggle with the word onion. Oh, apparently I still say it wrong, but I can't hear it, so it'll have to be wrong forever. There's the longest word, I think this is Polish, is it? 54 letters is the longest word. And there are 9 letters that are not found in any other alphabet that exist in Polish. Didn't know that, and I would like to find out in a future course. Oh, can you tell us about them? Hungarian has 13 vowels, not 5, and 26 cases. Ablative, nominative, accusative, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Lord, it's so much that we could learn from all of this. Russian, there's a word which they don't use anymore, apparently, which is tovarищ, which is meant to say something about ladies and gentlemen. But that word apparently doesn't exist anymore. So they, depending on the situation you're in, apparently, you say man or woman. But it can sound a bit rude, apparently. But we'll talk about this because I know we have a couple of Russian speakers here. And the list goes on, the list goes on. We have Bengali with us, I hope, which is one of the softest and sweetest languages, apparently. It has simplified vowels and consonant sounds. And I didn't know that World Mother Tongue Day was kick-started by Bengali. So these are the wonderful things that we can do also working with language. Another thing I quickly do is when I have my courses, I find out what they do. And then I also try and develop little activities that talk to them, but their professions. And then I make them do it in either their language or the language of the training course. The top left-hand one I had to do with a bunch of chemists that were going to have to work cross-culturally, and they had to in pairs come up with what is this a formula for, and then describe what you use it for without saying what it is. So it's actually aspirin. It's a nice, easy, simple one. And the same with, I had doctors, I had in the middle, I had psychologists, and the top right-hand one, which was one of my favorite jobs, was in Spain and Barcelona with the Spanish territorial army just after the Yugoslavian, the wars over there. And they had to go over as Peace Corps and work with other militaries in English, but the French military, the Dutch military, and they had to not only be able to communicate in English, but also they needed to know, the cultural implications of all of this. And the last job, which I found most challenging, was a water cleansing company that merged in Belgium, but the French part merged with the Dutch, the Vlaams speaking part of the company. And so I had to jump from French to Dutch throughout the whole course, but also I had to try and get into the head of the French speakers and of the Vlaam speakers. So that was quite a challenge. So these are just some of the linguistic elements that one should be aware of when giving a training course. So I'd like to start to summarize a little bit now. When you can, or when you have to, keep your sentences short and simple. Try and look for synonyms and paraphrase. Prioritize and put your information into sequences, or your instructions into sequences, and breathe and pause in between each one. Avoid jargon. So earlier on, I was very honest with you, and then I said that I was wearing my heart on my sleeve, which I know not everybody would understand, but it is just another way of saying you're very open. But if you use these kinds of sayings, they might be lost on some of your participants. Also answer emotions and also the body language, body emotions. Try and read them and write them down, and then try and find out, you know, is something going on? Is someone feeling uncomfortable but not expressing it? And when was the last time any of you actually filmed yourself and watched it again and analyzed it? Well, I try and do this at least every month, because then I find myself doing things that I think, oh no, I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have done that. And yeah, and that's where also we're all going digital now. And I don't know if you noticed, but I actually took my headphone off so that Maria Angelis could hear. But it changes the volume, I'm sure. I'm sure suddenly some of you were turning the volume down. Because without headphones, if you just talk to the laptop, to many people it can sound as if you're shouting. So please make sure, you know, listen to yourself, record yourself, listen to yourself, and is it okay, or should you buy a headphone and a microphone? And speak slowly when you need to, if you think you need to, and use pauses. We're all constrained by time in our training courses, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, and so we want to get everything in, but we really need to sit back and pause, because that is where the information is landing and people are processing what we are saying. Oh, Mari. Sorry, that's Mari's phone. And that's what goes wrong when it's digital as well. And then what I also give my students, for example, if I'm doing a training course in English, but I know that not all of them are English speakers, I make sure that they have a chapter where they can learn or express themselves in English. I've put them here in Spanish, but when you want to disagree with somebody, when you want to interrupt, and I give them the phrases to be able to express themselves, and we actually go through them. I give them little role plays where they have to use them. So, for example, when you want to give an opinion, creo que, tal y como, I think that sometimes one doesn't have this vocabulary to hand. One has to think. So often my students say, give me that list and then I can talk to you, which is quite interesting. So here is the list that I have that I give to students and participants, and we work on it somewhere in the first day already so that they can use them throughout the course. So the last thing I would like to leave you with as well, which is coming back to Nelson Mandela and what he says, you know, speak to a man in a language, it'll go to his head. Speak to a man in his language and it'll go to his heart. Project I've been working on recently, a refugee camp, a friend of mine, she works in a refugee camp, Mariam van der Heide, a wonderful lady. She is the first person a lot of refugees meet when they land on Dutch soil. And she was really quite touched by all of their stories, listening to them. So she thought, how can I help them to either have closure or to start closure? And talking in Dutch, they all learn Dutch, and she said that they don't feel that they're getting, you know, closure. So she has put together this lovely book, and this book is their stories, but they have written their stories, as you can see on the bottom, in their own languages. And there are about 5 or 6 languages in this book. There's Syrian, there's Egyptian, there's Algeria, Morocco. There's a lot of different forms of, there's also some Palestinian in here. And then she had it translated into Dutch. And the reason why I'm involved in this is that I'm now going to be translating this book into English. And we would really like to share this with people. But I use it also as an example of, yeah, these people finally have been able to tell their story in their own language and then to be heard. And the fact that they also see it in the shape form of a book for them is they feel very, very proud of this. So it helps to build their confidence again as well in human nature. So there we go. I'm trying to, finish up now. This is the last slide, whereby I would like to come back to how this webinar was actually advertised. It's the language level awareness, how participants' linguistic ability affects engagement and comprehension. Linguistically sensitive activities, so how to design activities to meet your learners' language abilities, not only to meet them, but also to gauge them for yourself. So you as a trainer know that when they come out of your training course, they really have understood as much as possible. And a deeper understanding through parallel language and cultural awareness, because training across languages is not just about grammar, and you don't have to be a language or a grammar teacher to be able to do this. So may I just say, I'm going to come back to you all. It's been an immense pleasure doing this with you, and I would welcome any comments and anything that you want to share with us. Almendra, over to you.
SIETAR is the Society for Intercultural Education, Training and Research. We have a national SIETAR, which is SIETAR España, but there are other national SIETARs, and you can become a member of SIETAR España if that makes sense for you. If you live in another country, you can see whether your country has a national SIETAR. If you are in Europe and you would like to join SIETAR España, it also automatically makes you a member of SIETAR Europa. So there's a larger umbrella organization that you can be a part of. It costs 80 euros per year to join SIETAR España. If you just join SIETAR Europa on its own, it's actually more expensive. So big plug for becoming part of SIETAR España, because it also gives you SIETAR Europa privileges. And one of the things that we hope to do is have people that are interested in all things intercultural join us. And so the intercultural field is very large. We think of it in terms of people moving across countries, moving across borders, but it's also diversity and inclusion within the own country, and also the psychological and the well-being of people who have multiple cultures within their country, and crossing cultures and crossing boundaries. So it's really quite a large organization. We do have different activities that we do each month. We also have activities just for members.
Has this helped? Is it something that you might take forward, any of you? Jane, sorry, did you say something?
Yeah, I said definitely. It's been very insightful and really very helpful. So,
okay,
all of it actually, even the ones that were a bit confusing.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. That's good.
You're welcome.
Hi, I also would like to share, I grew up in China, but I teach Chinese language in the United States, but I also teach Introduction to Minority Cultures. And this is very relevant to my course. I definitely would use some of the activities here. In the chat box, I mentioned, especially that word was not mentioned, culturally responsive teaching, that pedagogy. But, all these activities are very valuable to that teaching model.
Good.
So thank you, really appreciate that.
Good, thank you. As we said, what we'd love is that you share your activities, your whatever it is, share it, and then we're going to try and put it together into some kind of toolbox that we can all dip into via SIETAR España somehow. It's still to be devised but thank you very much for sharing. It's been wonderful. You can't imagine how nervous I was.
It didn't show. It really didn't. It was. I felt very comfortable. I got nervous trying to manage technology. So I'd like to thank everybody for their assistance. I see, Angel, you've got your hand raised, and I'd like to allow you to ask at this point what you wanted to address.
Yes, I just wanted to say that, well, I'm from Venezuela and I teach Spanish in South Carolina. I've been here for 4 years, and I've had a wonderful intercultural experience, not only as an international teacher, but also in actively incorporating intercultural communicative competence in the classroom. So I will definitely be glad to share with you all a lot of things we've been doing and trying to put together. And thank you very much for this, because I immediately start using what I learned today in my classroom.
Oh.
Thank you.
Perfect. As I said, I did put a reference of, they're not all my activities, you know, some are taken from various books, and I've put all of it in the last slide of this. I didn't show you, but I've referenced everybody.
So can I ask, Nikki, are you going to be sharing your slides, and can I share those with the participants? Is that,
please?
Okay, perfect. I'm making, there's going to be a lot of information coming your way tomorrow when I send the follow-up email.
Okay. Oh, I'm on holiday from tomorrow, so I won't get bored.
Very good. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for showing up to our webinar para promover la formación intercultural. We hope to continue many more, once a month at least, open to the public such as this one, and then specific ones just for SIETAR España members. So join us tomorrow at 1:30 and learn more. And I look forward to meeting all of you and to welcoming you to further events. Thank you, everybody. Buenas tardes.
Gracias. Thank you so much. Oh, bye.
Bye. Thanks. Bye-bye.